All right, so yesterday, the Chicago Bears traded a 2025 sixth-round pick for Jonah Jackson. Not the biggest deal. We didn't even talk about it off the top of the show because, well, he got benched last year, but was obviously at his best under Ben Johnson when he was with Detroit. But now they pulled the trigger on a trade once again, trading a 2026 fourth-round pick for none other than Kyle's boy, Joe Thuney, Chiefs left guard / left tackle.
Wow.
Kyle, is your phone just blown up right now? Are you?
You know what? I was just texting with Joe. I was telling him where to live because obviously I spent some time in the North Shore, Lake Forest. What a town! Chicago, what a city! And Joel, I'm sure you're familiar with how great Chicago is for their players and the opportunities that the players get there. You can't replicate the back-to-back Super Bowl championships that he just experienced in Kansas City. But for a team that has a young quarterback and they're looking for answers on the offensive line, I think this is a no-brainer. Obviously, there was a lot of lines in the water for offensive linemen in Chicago. You talked about Jonah Jackson. Trey Smith was obviously coveted enough by the Kansas City Chiefs that they wanted to tag him with the intention to give him a long-term deal. But Joe Thuney, the veteran, the three-time Super Bowl champion, once in New England, twice in Kansas City, gets the opportunity to go and show what he's got in Chicago and give that young group the leadership that they are so desperately in need of. And, whether he plays guard or tackle, I'm sure he'll be playing guard.
I'd play him at guard after what I saw in the Super Bowl.
Whether they play him at guard or tackle, they are going to get better at that position. And Mike knows that I firmly believe that the interior part of the dish, the pocket, the guards in the center, is where you can make or break the confidence of a quarterback, because without it, you have nowhere to step up. Without it, it muddies that pocket and your vision, your eye level goes down. You're no longer looking down the football field. And for a guy like Caleb Williams, you're going to need that dish. He can make the guys miss on the edge. He did it a number of times last year. 65 or so plays that should have resulted in sacks, he got out of it. But Joe Thuney, huge get for the Chicago Bears. It's clear to me that Ryan Poles really enjoyed his time with Joe Thuney in Kansas City and said, this is the guy we have to have on our roster. This is a leader, a really intelligent dude, very tough, and position versatility. I think it's a home run for the Chicago Bears. What do you guys think?
Oh, I love it. I love it. Building in the trenches, that's what Philadelphia does on both sides of the ball. Starts in the trenches. You now have two guards, because I'm assuming Jonah Jackson will go back to what he did in Detroit. He played guard. Thuney's interesting from the standpoint he's in a contract year, so I wonder if they're going to give him a new contract. He's an all-pro caliber guard. He's a little older, but still, offensive line, you don't have a short shelf like you do with some other positions, so you could do a 2-3 year extension. He's probably going to be good. Now, the other interesting part to me is this gives Trey Smith a ton more leverage. You already gave him leverage sticking a franchise tag on him at $23.402 million, which is higher than the top of the guard market. Interior offensive linemen typically don't get tagged, but now you remove Thuney from the equation. I don't know where this deal is going to end up, but he's definitely going to be the highest paid offensive guard. And it makes sense that Thuney's no longer there because you have Creed Humphrey, highest paid center, who was in the same draft class. You have that mistake of a right tackle deal, Juwan Johnson, at $20 million per year. This year's fully guaranteed, so there's nothing they can do about that one. So if you're going to pay Trey Smith, were you really going to have a guy who was formerly the highest paid offensive guard in Thuney, the highest paid center, then the highest paid guard on the other side?
A lot. There's a lot there. There's a lot of ass that has to be paid for, Joel. And, they found a way to do it because they had Creed and Trey on their rookie deals. Now we're at that point where you got to pay the piper. So obviously the band will get split up a little bit. But let's hope Paul McCartney, that's Joe Thuney in this situation, goes and enjoys some solo success in Chicago, because I'm a Bears fan and we need Caleb to get protected.
Yeah, this trade feels a lot like the trade they made last year for Keenan Allen. Aging veteran, last year of his deal. Still going to cost you a good amount. Base salary this year is at $15.5 million. So you'll take a hit. But to me, I like this move so much better because this is the area where you actually had a need. Wide receiver, Keenan Allen always felt shoehorned into that offense last year. Never really felt like a good mesh. Joe Thuney is only 32. He turns 33 at the end of this next upcoming season. You've seen the age of guards and how they've aged in recent years, especially guys who have stayed healthy like Thuney over the course of his career. Kevin Zeitler comes to mind, who was obviously with Ben Johnson in Detroit at about this same age when he signed there and had a few very productive years there with Detroit. So would not surprise me if Thuney, even after this, stays a Bear for a few more years after. So I think Bears are making some good moves already this offseason.